Hey guys, I'm in my sewing room. It's become the room that I do a lot of my meetings from because it's one of the only rooms I can keep the little one out of, even though he does have his own corner and play toys and other stuff in this room. But it's used to be mostly my sewing room, which is totally cool. It's pretty fun to live in your own personal craft store costume closet place. But I wanted to share a thought with you. I've been doing a lot of sewing lately, waiting to be online meetings, and other things. And I think I've shared with you before that I pray best when my hands are busy. If you saw the Radiant sermon last Sunday, Pastor Sam mentioned how we have to pray earnestly, how we have to beg with humility and over, losing a lot of our dignity. When you look at some of the stories, like the parable of the widow that needed justice, or the guy who needed bread in the middle of the night. And as I was sewing today, I had a thought. I've got a lot of fabric, and it's a lot of different kinds. Some of it's silky, some of it's fuzzy, some of it's cotton, some of it's linen, and most of that means nothing to you guys, and that's okay. It's different types of fabric that are used for different purposes or reasons. If I want to create a costume, I'll probably do some of the silky, shiny stuff. But when I make a quilt, I use cotton. This is 2 squares. They were leftover pieces from one of the projects that I was doing. I grabbed all of the purple and all of the green, and I sewed them together. Now I am placing those squares together. That's called a chain of squares. It's kind of fun. I'm placing them, sewing them together to make big squares, or what's called a 4 patch, because you can tell there are obviously 4 little squares inside the big square. So quilting starts with a big piece of fabric, and you cut it up into little pieces. And then you sew those little pieces together, and then you sew those together pieces together, and then you sew those together pieces together, and pretty soon you have a bunch of tiny little pieces that really had no connection to anything. And when they're done, they make this amazing pattern and design. A blanket or a quilt. A quilt is when you put all the layers together to make it fluffy. So here's where that's going. Other than teaching you a little bit about sewing, we are each one of those little pieces. You can say that God is making a quilt. And He's using me, He's using you, He's using your family. Everybody in the world has a piece to play in this quilt and the overall end product. God gave us free will. So some people use that free will for their own good. It's kind of human nature. That's what most of us do before we know Jesus. But some people gather up, and you can see it happening. It's like a really cool picture. Look at what is happening in our environment right now. Everybody is kind of isolating or self-quarantining themselves if they can. And our air is getting better. Our waters are getting better. Wildlife is thriving. Little pieces, our little actions that have been hurting the world for a while, in just a couple months have been able to rejuvenate itself. So it's kind of a long stretch from praying and quilting to filming this video with you guys. but you have a part to play in God's kingdom. I don't know what shape your piece is. I don't know what color your piece is. I don't even know what shape or piece my color is. Shape or color my piece is. It's a little late for me. But we have a part to play. And I think it's really cool that God created each of us with special abilities, with special gifts and talents and challenges, so that our piece, our life, what we can provide to the world and those around us, is completely unique. Only you can be you. Only you can do your thing. Don't let that be scary. It's pretty empowering and neat that God has a plan for you. Jeremiah tells us it is a plan for good, not for evil. It is a plan to prosper us, a plan for a future. I hope you guys have a great evening tonight. Happy Earth Day. I'll talk more about that later. I love you. God loves you. Have a great night. Bye.